Well, let's start straight away this video with a quick and important question. Do you actually need to rent a car in Australia? My answer is most definitely yes, because true, you can visit the most important destinations like Melbourne, Sydney, Cairns, Brisbane, Gold Coast by flight or public transportation, but you're gonna miss out one of the most important things to visit Australia, which is nature. Access to national parks like this one in Gippsland, Cape Liptrap, fabulous walk to one of the most isolated places here in southern Victoria. This is something you can't do with public transportation simply because there is no public transportation coming here, and there are so many places similar to this one where you can come by car, park it and have a fabulous walk along the beach or along the coast or into the hills and the mountains of Australia. And for me, this is honestly reason number one to Australia, to explore nature in the country, not only the cities of Australia. I will explain you later when it's better actually to buy a second-hand car instead of renting a car. But let me tell you first three important things. Your driving license will work here in Australia if it's written in Latin letters. So if you come from US, from Europe, it's not a problem, you can use the driving license. But if you come from countries like China, for example, and your driving license is written in Chinese characters, then you need an IDP, an international driving permit, that translates your driving license to English. In this way, the police can check your driving license if they stop you. Second important thing is that we drive on the left side of the road here in Australia. So if you come from the UK, you won't have any trouble adapting to it. In fact, it would be even better because there's not as much traffic as in UK here in Australia. But if you come from any other European country or US, probably you need a couple of days to adapt to the new system. And just a quick suggestion, rent an automatic car will make your life much easier. Third important thing is wildlife. There is plenty of it in Australia, especially when you drive in the countryside, and you will see signs like this one pretty much everywhere. That's where you have to slow down, especially if you drive at sunset. Try to limit actually driving at sunset and avoid completely driving at night because there is plenty of wildlife coming out. And if you have an accident, especially with the kangaroos that you see here on top of this sign, can be really a damaging one because they can be as tall as 2 meters. I must be honest with you, until now I haven't seen any dinosaur that you see here in the sign, but I've seen every other of these animals in Australia. But where should you rent a car? Well, there are three possible ways. The first one is to go with the global operators. This could be Avis, Hertz, Europcar. They are usually on site at the airport, pretty straightforward. They are sometimes also connected to the airline mileage card, which is a good way actually to accumulate mileages on your car. And they typically provide also newish cars, which is always a great way actually to start your holiday. The second possibility is to go more with a local provider, which is usually off-site, and this means that they typically provide a free van to take you from the airport gate straight to the car rental office, typically between 5 and 10 minutes drive. The cars tend to be not the newish on the market, however they tend also to be cheaper than the global providers. And then there is a third possibility, which is my favorite way, is to use a comparison website. I'm gonna put my favorite one into the video description below, a website that I've been using for about 5 years, which compares not only the best prices of the car rentals, but also ranks every single car provider from 5 to 10 stars based on the feedback of the customers like myself. I usually filter the providers above 8 stars just to get the most trusted companies and book the best price from there. As easy as that. So what car size should you take here in Australia? There are three important things that you should keep in mind. First, if you drive in a group of people, friends or family, probably having a big car like this one helps a lot because you can fill up a lot of luggage here on the back. Or if you do long distances, for example, if you want to experience the east coast of Australia, you should expect to have a drive of 4,000 kilometers. So you want to have a big, comfortable car. And do you need to rent a four-wheel drive? Probably not, unless you want to go into the desert, into the outback of Australia, and in that case a four-wheel drive is actually helpful, especially if you plan to do some of the trips over the dunes. Speed limits in Australia is very similar to most of the world in a way that you can drive up to 50 km/h once you approach the cities, villages and towns, but sometimes the speed limit goes down to 40 or even 30 km/h. In the secondary roads and the highway, the speed limits can go up to 80 km/h or even 100 km/h. And this is usually the top speed that you can do in Australia, unless you drive in the outback, where used to be no speed limits, but they introduced speed limits over there as well, which is a little bit higher at 130 km/h. And how are the roads in Australia? Well, I must be honest here, some of the best in the world. They are wide, easy to drive around, traffic is pretty limited, except the business hours in and outside of the city, of course, and they are very well maintained too, so not as many potholes as you can find in other countries. If I have to find only a drawback of the roads here in Australia, is that even on the best highways, you know, with 3-4 lanes, the speed limit is only 110 km/h, which is pretty low, so just take it easy and follow the speed limit. I found this quiet spot in a nice park to talk more about the insurance levels that you should expect to have and the insurance level that I personally suggest to have. Now let's start first with the third-party liability insurance, which is mandatory here in Australia, and it comes with a rental cost. And this protects you if you damage a property or if you injure someone while driving the car rental. More often than not, the car rental companies also offer, included in the price, a collision damage waiver, also called a loss damage waiver, which is technically not an insurance, but is going to limit the out-of-pocket if you have an accident with a car rental and you are at fault. Usually this collision damage waiver comes with an excess which is typically between 500 and 5,000 Australian dollars, and this is the money that you're going to be out of pocket in case of an accident and you are at fault. Road assistance and theft protection sometimes are also included in the price, and surely if it's not included in the price, the road assistance is a must-have, especially if you're driving in the outback, because if you have a car accident there or your car stops just working and you don't have a road assistance, you're gonna be out of pocket for several $1,000s. What I personally suggest is to add a full insurance to cover the excess of a collision damage waiver, so the $500 to $5,000 I mentioned before, and also to have a road assistance. And on my favorite website I mentioned before, you can have it for about 14-15 Australian dollars a day, which is less than 10 euros or 10 US dollars. So it's absolutely a bargain and such a peace of mind. Finding parking in Australia is pretty straightforward, and also the parking areas, as you see here, are quite wide, so even if you rent a big car, it's not a problem. Obviously you may have some trouble if you are in the city centers of the capital cities like Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney of course, but besides that, the only suggestion I give you is to always read the signals next to the parking, because they can vary from one street to the next. So in this case, parking is only for 2 hours between 8 AM and midnight. This means that you can basically park for as long as you want during the night. There's no problem at all, but if you park between 8 and midnight, you can only park for 2 hours. This side of the road is a permit zone, which means only if you have a permit that you can put into your car, you can park here. Otherwise, don't leave it even for 5 minutes, because they're gonna fine you. In this case, you have 2 hours parking, doesn't matter the time of the day. In this car park here, for example, you can leave the car for free, maximum 2 hours from Monday to Friday and Saturday morning. Otherwise, you have to pay a fee, which can be up to $7 per hour, so quite expensive, but you also have a daily fee. And this is a typical ticket machine, very easy going, and you can pay with credit cards, so you don't need anymore to take coins with you. Alternatively, you can also pay to an app that you can connect to your credit card, so very, very handy. For example, in this case, the cost for 1 hour parking is $7, but you can buy a day ticket for $20. Petrol stations or gas stations are pretty much everywhere in Australia in the urban areas. You can find plenty of them, and probably the best tool actually to look for petrol station is always Google Maps. Just search for petrol station or gas station, and Google Maps is actually my favorite app to search the best price for petrol around. So for example, in this petrol station here, the unleaded petrol is $1.98, which is roughly similar to the cost of gas in the US, but it's about 40% cheaper than in Europe. One thing I should definitely mention is that the price of a petrol can vary quite a lot from either petrol station to petrol station or for one day to the next. And what I've noticed in the last 2 years is that it usually stays in the range of $1.60 to $2.20, which can make you saving about $10 to $20 for every time you make petrol to your car. If you drive in the Outback, things are a little bit more complicated and need more planning, especially if you're planning to drive, for example, to Alice Springs or Uluru. And in that case, the petrol stations are every 150 to 200 kilometers, so missing one petrol station could be vital. All the petrol stations are self-service, which means once you arrive, you just have to put the petrol into your car and then you go to pay inside the little shop. As easy as that. Another quick suggestion, especially if you're renting a car for maybe 2-3 weeks and it's all dirty, maybe the day before you drop it off, pass by a car wash. It costs only $10–15, and spend a couple of dollars with a vacuum cleaner. They are usually at the petrol stations. In this way, you give it back clean and you avoid any cleaning fee that may apply if your car is too dirty, that sometimes can add up to $70 or $80. And how is a petty crime in Australia? Well, you see signs like this one, lock it or lose it, which suggests to lock the car. Well, straightforward, isn't it? But still, I would never suggest to leave valuable in the car, especially visible, like a computer or a camera or your mobile on the back seat, for example. Honestly, it's very, very rare that someone is gonna break in your car, and if that happens, it happens in the city and not in the countryside. Is it a good idea to drive into the capital city centers, the so-called CBDs? Well, first off, you can drive through, no worries at all. But consider that parking can cost you an arm and a leg, sometimes up to $40 or even more for just a few hours. Traffic can be also unbearable, especially in the early morning and late afternoon when people arrive or leave their offices. So what I usually do personally, if I want to visit the city center, the CBD, I typically park a little bit outside of the CBD and I walk inside, or I take public transportation. Consider, for example, that in Melbourne, public transportation inside the CBD is free of charge, so you don't really need a car for that. So overall, I personally suggest to rent a car only once you leave the capital cities and you drive around, like for example the Great Ocean Road south of Melbourne, or you go to Port Stephens from, for example, Sydney, or you visit the Gold Coast. Plenty of opportunities to rent a car and enjoy Australia. And now two important things. First one, as much as I love cities like Sydney, Brisbane, Gold Coast and Melbourne, where I am at the moment, don't limit your Australian trip to visit just these 4 capital cities and maybe a couple of organized trips outside of the cities. Australia offers so much more, so many beautiful places, incredible nature and amazing people all around the country. So I definitely suggest renting a car for at least a few days and experience all by yourself. And now let's come to the original question. Is it a good idea to buy actually a car to experience Australia? Well, if you're thinking about driving around Australia for 2-3 weeks, then renting a car is a better option. But if you're thinking about staying in Australia for 2-3 months or even longer, buying a car is actually an option. But of course, the whole process is a little bit more demanding because, first of all, you will have to sell the car at the end of your stay. Besides, you need to register the car and make sure that it comes with a roadworthy certificate. Actually, let me know if you need more information about buying and selling a car to drive around Australia, because I can make a video just for it. And definitely, I can't exhaust this subject in this video. And if you stay with me in this video, I guess you appreciate the effort in making this video. So take a moment to subscribe to the channel, click on that like button because that means a lot to me, and let me know in the comment area what would you like to visit in Australia on your next trip here. And this is it for the moment, but next week I will come back with more videos about Australia. See you next time. Bye bye. Ciao.